Hey, what's up? My name is Gabby. Welcome back to my channel, and today I thought it would be fun to do a, slightly more relaxed, kind of cozy, sit back kind of video where I just react to the Goodreads Choice Awards and let you know my thoughts on them and let you know what I will be voting for in the Goodreads Choice Awards. This is not a video that I've ever made before on this channel, and the Goodreads Choice Awards are awards that I have a love-hate relationship with because in reality, the Goodreads Choice Awards are basically just the most popular books of the year. They're not necessarily the best books of the year. They're the most popular because a lot of people will vote for books, like they'll vote for the only book that they've read in the whole category, or they'll vote for something that they just think is super popular. Like, it's not necessarily books that are like people's favorites. And it's very skewed and very biased. But at the same time, I just get excited about them every year. I don't know why. I always look forward to the Goodreads Choice Awards. I've always wanted to do a video of like reading the top 10 thrillers or reading the top 10 horrors of the year, and I was actually planning on doing that this year, but then in November it just got announced so much later than I was anticipating. Like, they announced right at the beginning of November. They usually announce it at the end of October or beginning of November, so that way I'd have more time to plan for it, but then this year they ended up pushing it back all the way to November 16th. So unfortunately, because of that, I just wasn't able to find the time this year to make that happen, but maybe I can still do something like, a smaller reading vlog of like reading some of the books that I haven't read in the thriller or horror category yet. Anyways, let me know what you think on that. But the Goodreads Choice Awards were announced yesterday morning. I've seen a little bit here and there of what's nominated, but I haven't really seen the full list of nominations yet. I've been trying to avoid it so I could film my reaction. And if you didn't know, if you're new to my channel, I am a very avid thriller and horror reader, so I'm especially curious to see what gets nominated in those categories because I'd be curious, like I would be willing to bet that there's not more than 5 books in each one of those categories that I haven't read yet. That's a pretty big bet, but I'm willing to make it. I don't know how many books are in this first category. I think it's only 15. Okay, so I think I'm just gonna go in order of like, the genres. I think there are 17 different categories, which like, wow, that's a lot. Okay, so fiction. Let's go ahead and open this one. I'm not expecting to read too much from this category this year because, to be honest, I've been like off of my game with general fiction reading. I do enjoy just like general fiction books like this, but I haven't been reading a lot of them this year. So let's see what's nominated. Okay, so we have the new Nicholas Sparks book, which is not a surprise, but I do not plan to read that one. Detransition Baby, that's pretty awesome. That one's on my TBR. I haven't gotten to it yet, but I do want to read that one soon. And then Dial A for Aunties. That's interesting that they put it in fiction. I would have assumed that this would have been in either mystery, thriller, or romance. More so romance, though. Interesting. I don't know how I feel about this being in just general fiction. Let's see, I have not read The Reading List. I have not read Oh William. 123 is a book that I still have on my TBR. I actually still have that book, but I have not gotten to it yet. We Are the Brennans I read, and it was fine. It was like a 3-star book for me. This Close to Okay is another book that I would still really like to read. I have that one on my shelf still. And then I haven't read any of these 4 yet. But the one I'm most intrigued by is Once There Were Wolves. That one I still have on my TBR. And then same with Infinite Country down here. I don't know why I'm like pointing at my screen like you can see what I'm doing. Infinite Country is one that I'm still hoping to read. I don't really think I'm that interested in the new Sally Rooney, to be honest. I mean, I expected it to be on this list because it's, Sally Rooney. But I don't think I'm very interested in reading that one. I just haven't been hearing that good of anything about it. And then, wow, yeah, I haven't read any of these on this list. I've heard so much about Bewilderment. I've heard, a ton about Cuckoo Land. I don't even know if I'm saying that right, but I've heard a ton about that one because it's the same author as All the Light We Cannot See. But I don't know if any of these, I mean, Jennifer Weiner, I'd probably be interested in Jennifer Weiner. I didn't even know she had a new book come out this year. But yeah, and then Black Buck is another one that I do have the audiobook for this one, but I just haven't gotten around to it yet. So wow, out of all of these books, I've only read Dial A for Aunties and We Are the Brennans. So I guess at this point, my vote would be for Dial A for Aunties, even though I would like to read Detransition Baby before the end of the year, so that one could be my favorite. Like, we'll just have to see. But wow, interesting. I didn't think I'd only read 2 out of those, so wow. Okay, next is Mystery Thriller. This is the category that I'm very confident in, that I feel like I will read a lot of these books. And also, I just realized there's like 20 in this category, isn't there? So I guess there's 20 already in this opening category, which is pretty weird for Goodreads. I'm pretty sure they usually have 15 in the opening category, but let's go. Mystery and thriller. Will I have read a lot of them? Hopefully. Okay. Okay, cool. So we have The Good Sister, which is one that I read. I enjoyed. We have Billy Summers, which is really interesting, actually, because I wasn't sure if they were going to put Stephen King in the thriller or the horror section. I have not yet read Billy Summers, but this kind of motivates me to want to read it before the end of the year, just so I can have an opinion on this. And then Local Woman Missing. Yes, that's one of my favorite thrillers of the year. I'm so happy to see it in here. And then we have The Survivors by Jane Harper. I have not read this one yet. I do own it, and I own the audiobook, but I have not read it yet. The Wife Upstairs, I did read. This was a book club pick for this year. Apples Never Fall, I have not yet read, and I didn't even think that one was a thriller. I thought it was a contemporary, so now I'm confused. Arsenic and Adobo, I did read this year. I thought it was fine. Every Last Secret is not one that I've read yet, but I would really like to read this one. It looks so interesting. I was actually considering making that one a book club pick for next year, but I don't know yet because, I don't know. I kind of want to read it, like, sooner than that, so we'll see. And then We Begin at the End, that's interesting because I don't really consider this one to be a thriller. I feel like it's more like this one belongs in general fiction, at least in my brain. The Maidens is nominated. That's exciting. Loved The Maidens. The Night She Disappeared. Loved The Night She Disappeared. That's awesome that it's in here. Colson Whitehead, Harlem Shuffle. What? See, this is another one that I thought that this was just like general fiction or even historical fiction. Like, I don't know why this one would be in the mystery thriller category. Okay, next we have The Plot, which, like, hell yes, another 5-star book for me. Razorblade Tears, another 5-star book for me. All Her Little Secrets, this one just came out, and this is one that I have on my TBR, but I haven't gotten to it yet. Not a Happy Family, this is another one of my favorites of the year. I'm happy it's in here. Okay, and then lastly, The Push, which, like, hell yes. Rock, Paper, Scissors, hell yes. The Last Thing He Told Me, I've read it. I did not personally enjoy that one. And then A Slow Fire Burning by Paula Hawkins, which I don't know if I'm planning on reading this one because it's getting such bad reviews, but of course it's on here because it's Paula Hawkins. Damn, okay, so I have not read 7 out of the 20 top books. So, I mean, that's still pretty good, right? 7, I mean, I've read 13 out of the 20 books. And, gosh, if I had to vote for one of these out of all of them, it would honestly probably be The Push or Razorblade Tears. Both of those are, like, probably maybe in my top 5 of the year, so I'm really excited that these are in here. However, there's a few missing that I honestly wanted to be in here, like Finlay Donovan Is Killing It should have been in here, and In My Dreams I Hold a Knife should have been in here. But yeah, anyways, let's move on to historical fiction. I think the only historical fiction that I've read this year is The Four Winds by Kristen Hanna. So let's see if it's on here. Alright, so best historical fiction. Okay, yeah, I don't really recognize any of these except for The Prophets. I did try to read The Prophets and I just couldn't get through the beginning of it. But yeah, The Four Winds is on here. That's exciting. I feel like The Four Winds is probably gonna win. I mean, Four Winds just won Book of the Month's, like, Book of the Year whole thing. It just took the whole crown. So I'm kind of expecting it to do well in this too. Oh, duh! The final revival of Opal and Nev. This is also one that I read this year that I really enjoyed. I've heard of The Paris Library. I have not read it, though. Oh, wow. Malibu Rising is in here? Duh. Okay, Malibu Rising. That one I could see easily winning, too, actually, so I don't even know. The Lost Apothecary. I didn't even know this was historical fiction. I thought this one was fantasy, so I am confused. And I've heard of Women in Salt, but yeah, I've not read many of these, so I've only read The Four Winds and The Final Revival of Opal and Nev and Malibu Rising, so I have 3 on that shelf, and I would definitely vote for The Four Winds, because The Four Winds is iconic, so yeah, that would be my vote. Next category is fantasy, which, you know, I don't read a lot of fantasy, so I'm not expecting to know a lot of the books on this shelf. Okay, so we have the new TJ Klune, which I have not actually read yet, but I am interested in reading that one, I think. And then we have some books that I recognize, some that I don't. This just isn't really my genre, to be honest. Okay, The Inheritance of Orcadia Divina. This is one that I have, but I haven't read yet because, you know, it's out of my comfort zone. And then, yeah, wow. Haven't read a single book on this shelf. So that's cool. Wasn't really expecting to be honest. I'm sorry if you're here for the fantasy, but that is just not my thing. Alright, next up is romance. Even though I haven't been reading as much romance this year as I usually do, I still have read a fairly good amount of romance, and I tend to read the more popular romance books anyways, so I'm expecting to know most of the books on this list. Hopefully I recognize them all. Okay, yeah, see, right off the bat, I see, I've read Actor Age, Eve Brown, I've read The Dating Plan, I've read People We Meet on Vacation. I have not yet read How to Fail at Flirting, but this is one that I would like to get to soon. I've heard of it. I did read 7 Days in June. I've read The X-Talk, The Charm Offensive, The Love Hypothesis, Shipped. I have read The Heart Principle, and I have not yet read While We Were Dating or Second First Impressions, but those two are on my TBR, so I know of them. Wow, okay, yeah, I've read One Last Stop. I've read The X-Hex. I read It Happened One Summer. I have not read The Spanish Love Deception. I haven't even heard of that one. And then on this last shelf, I've only read The Soulmate Equation by Christina Lauren. I have not read Neon Gods, Life's Too Short, or The Road Trip. Okay, wow. I've read a lot more of the romance books than I thought I was going to. I thought I wasn't going to read that many of these. Wow, so I've only not read 7 of the romance books as well. So I've also read 13 out of the 20 romances. That's exciting. Gosh, I feel like this is a really tough category to vote for a favorite out of these because oof, some of these are like my absolute favorites of the year. Like my top out of all of these would be like People We Meet on Vacation, 7 Days in June, The X-Talk, The Charm Offensive, The Love Hypothesis, and Shipped. Like those are all some of my favorite books that I read this year. I feel like I would vote for The Charm Offensive though. Like I just absolutely freaking love The Charm Offensive so much. But it's gotta be either The Charm Offensive, The Love Hypothesis, or People We Meet on Vacation. I think those books made me the happiest this year. So like, wow, that's pretty cool. I was not expecting to have read so much of the romance category this year. Alright, next is science fiction. Let's see, I don't know, I haven't been reading too much science fiction this year. The only one that I can think of is Project Hail Mary, so that book is gonna have to be it for me, but let's see if I have read any of these other ones. Okay, so yeah, this first shelf, I don't recognize any of these except for Project Hail Mary. I feel like Project Hail Mary has to win this category this year. It's hard for me to imagine any other book winning because Project Hail Mary is just so popular, even among non-sci-fi readers like myself. Not that I'm not a sci-fi reader, I just don't read a lot of it. Yeah, on the second shelf, I don't recognize any of these books. And these, I recognize The End of Men. I've seen this one around, but the other ones, I have no idea. Yeah, wow, none of these either, except for The Echo Wife. I have read The Echo Wife, what's up? Alright, so yeah, I've only read 2 out of these 20 books, and my vote would definitely be for Project Hail Mary. I am absolute garbage for that book. I think Project Hail Mary might be in my top 3 books of the year. Like, I loved it so freaking much. Like, that book owns my whole heart. Alright, next is horror. This is the genre that I'm most excited and most curious to see. I'm hoping this is another one of the categories that I've read most of the books on this list. Like, that is the hope. Okay, whoa, okay, right off the bat. We have Come With Me, which I did read. Was not a fan of this one. We have Near the Bone! Yes! I'm so excited to see this book on this list. Hell yes. Near the Bone is one of my favorite horrors of the year. The Hollows by Mark Edwards. I've never even heard of this, but I am intrigued. So, what the heck? The Whispering Dead by Darcy Coates. I have not read. I've never read any Darcy Coates books, so I should have anticipated that she would be on this list, but I didn't think about it. Okay, next, When the Reckoning Comes. This is a book that I have on my TBR still. I actually have this audiobook on hold at the library right now, and I want to read this one as soon as I can get my hands on it. But yeah, super excited to see this one on the list. Okay, wait, what? Later by Stephen King? See, this is what I mean by the Goodreads Choice Awards. They just throw Stephen King on every single list, even though the book does not fit in that list. Because this book is not horror. This book is like a crime thriller kind of book, but it's mainly just like a crime book. I'm confused. I don't understand this at all. So I've read it, but I'm not happy that it's in this category. And then we have The Book of Accidents, which, like, hell yes, this is another one of my favorite horror books of the year. I have read My Heart is a Chainsaw. Unfortunately, it was a DNF for me, but I've read it. The Final Girl Support Group is another book that I DNF'd, but I did read it. Comfort Me with Apples. This is one that I've never even heard of. so that's interesting. The Drowning Kind by Jennifer McMahon, hell yes, this is one of my favorites. Where They Wait by Scott Carson. This is another one that I put on hold at my library. I'm still waiting on it. I think I'm gonna read this one for Winterween next year. I think I've already made that decision in my brain. But yeah, super cool that it's on here. I have not read Summer Suns. I didn't realize that this one was a horror book for some reason. All's Well by Mona Awad. Okay, this is another one where I'm not totally sure if this fits in the horror category, but I've read it. This Thing Between Us. That's so cool that it's in here. I just read this book in October, really enjoyed it. Cackle by Rachel Harrison. This is another one that I was anticipating would be on this list. I did read Cackle in October as well. Chasing the Boogeyman. Had a feeling this would be on here. I've read this one. The Last House on Needless Street. I've read this one. And then Bloodline and... what is this? A Dowry of Blood? Okay, yeah, I have not read either of these two books. So, that's interesting. So I haven't read 8 out of these 20 horror books, so I've only read 12 of the horror selections this year. So if we're tallying up, if we're keeping score, I've read more of the romance selections this year than the horror selections, which is totally bonkers wild. But you know, some of the ones I want to read that are at the top of my freaking list is When the Reckoning Comes. This is one that I'm so freaking excited about, and then same with Where They Wait. Those are two that I plan on getting to, like, as soon as humanly possible. But some of these, I'm, like, so surprised. I've never even heard of them. Like, Bloodline, this Dowry of Blood, I've never heard of. And the two right at the start, The Hollows and The Whispering Dead, I've never heard of. The Hollows actually sounds so interesting. Like, I kind of want to check this one out, see what it's about. Ooh, okay, it's about a journalist who decides to reconnect with his 14-year-old daughter. Ooh, a cabin resort deep in the woods of Maine. From the outset, there's something a little eerie about the place, strange whispers in the trees. True crime podcasters. Okay, bumping this up on my TBR right now, adding it to want to read. That sounds amazing. What? Yeah, I'm not mad about it. I think out of all of these horror books, if I had to choose one to vote on, it would easily be Near the Bone by Christina Henry. I'm obsessed with this book. It's so freaking good. But if I had to vote for another one, it would be The Book of Accidents. This one's another one of my favorite horrors that I've read this year, and I'm so happy to see them both in this list. Okay, Matt Haig had a new book, The Comfort Book. That's exciting. I love Matt Haig's nonfiction so much. He's so good. Oh, okay, I read the John Green book, and I have read Last Call. Both of them were really good. I think if I had to vote for one, I would vote for the John Green book, even though, I don't know, I was just really surprised by that book. But the true crime lover in me really wants to vote for Last Call, because that one was a really, really interesting true crime book. Okay, poetry is one that I'm pretty curious about, just because I love reading some of the poetry selections, and usually I don't hear about them until I look through this category. Like right off the bat, I'll Fly Away by Rudy Francisco. I've read one of the other books by Rudy Francisco, and I freaking loved it. I think it was Helium, and so I'm definitely interested in checking out more poetry from this author. This one looks interesting. Clarity and Connection. That cover really intrigues me. Ooh, okay, I do have the book You Better Be Lightning. I was planning on reading that one this month because I love getting into poetry in November. Oh, okay, Amanda Lovelace came out with another poetry collection this year. That's cool, I didn't know that. Okay, debut novel is an interesting category because pretty much anything, any genre can go into this category. It's just a bunch of authors with their debut books. So let's see what's in here. Alright, so We Are the Brennans. Already mentioned I wasn't a huge fan of that one. Honey Girl is in here. That's pretty cool. I liked Honey Girl. The Lost Apothecary, I haven't read. The Love Songs, I have not read that one. Okay, I haven't read any of the 4 on this shelf here. I've only read The Final Revival of Opal and Nev on this shelf here, but All Her Little Secrets is one that I do want to read soon, so pretty cool that it's on there. And then Detransition Baby is another one that I mentioned I want to read soon. Haven't read any of these. Oh my gosh, The Push. That's so cool. It's so wild that The Push is a debut novel. Like, who would have known? Shit, I would probably vote for The Push, honestly. I think out of all the books that I have read on this list, The Push is the only one that I gave 5 stars. So my vote would probably be for The Push. Alright, let's see. Young adult fiction is next. I don't read young adult a ton these days, but I still do read it from time to time, so I'm curious to see if I've read any of the books on this list. We shall see. Okay, I've heard of The Project, and I do have The Project on audio, but I have not yet read it, and that's because it was getting really bad reviews earlier this year, so I just lost interest in it. But, let's see. Ooh, okay, Yolk is nominated. I haven't read this book, but I keep hearing mostly from my friend Katie that she thinks that I would love this because it's like an emotional story that involves two sisters. So I am curious to read this one, but I have not yet read it. I also have heard about this one, Hani and Ishu's Guide to Fake Dating. This is another one that I would like to read eventually, but I have not yet read it. And then same with You Have a Match. I've heard of this one. Ooh, okay, here we go. Ace of Spades. Hell yes. Ace of Spades. Concrete Rose I have read. I've also read She Drives Me Crazy. This one was super cute. I have not yet read As Good as Dead, but I know that this is the third book in that series. I've only read the first book, but I do really like that book series and I would like to continue with them. And then lastly, oh my god, Aristotle and Dante, dive into the waters of the world. Okay, that's cool. Read that one. And then Instructions for Dancing is another one that I have on my TBR, but I have not yet read that one. Okay, wow, that's cool. So I've read at least 1, 2, 3, 4. I've read 4 of the books in the young adult category, so that's pretty cool. I feel like my vote would have to be for either Concrete Rose or the Aristotle and Dante, even though it's kind of like hard because those books are sequels, so it's like for people to even read or vote for those books, they would have to have read the first book. Alright, next up is young adult fantasy and sci-fi, and once again, I don't think I would have read anything in this category, but let's check it out anyways. Yeah, I don't recognize. Oh, okay, so House of Hollow is one that I have on my TBR, but I've not yet read it, but that's cool that it's on this list. Same with The Ones We're Meant to Find. I have not read this one yet, but I do own both of these books, so I would like to get to them eventually, but I have not gotten to them yet. I think it's really strange that Goodreads has decided to completely eliminate one of the voting rounds in the Goodreads Choice Awards, because in the past, they've always done, they announce the first 15 books, and then they allow for 5 write-ins for the second round of voting, which is really cool because then it allows people to write in books that they think belong in those categories, and it gives the chance for less popular books to get that recognition, by being nominated on Goodreads. But even though, I know those 5 write-ins usually never make it to the actual top 10, but even still, it's like a cool extra thing to see, 5 extra books in each category that should have been in there. And so now it seems like they've completely gotten rid of that, and now it's just a top 20 of the most popular books without any of the options for us to write in. So that's kind of unfortunate, because then I feel like they're, not allowing us to have any kind of input on the Goodreads Choice Awards. Now it's just like, here's the 20 books, you pick from these, and then they announce the top 10, I guess. Which then again, it's just going to be the most popular books that make it into the top 10, this is just how it works. Because, people, myself included, will just vote for the one book that they've read in the category, so it really skews the list, because the most popular book is the most likely book to have been read by the most people. But yeah, anyways, this was a super fun time. Let me know if you would like me to do more reaction videos like this in the future with the Goodreads Choice Awards. I'm actually planning on launching a Patreon next year. These kind of reaction videos will probably be specifically for Patreon exclusive videos starting next year. But also let me know if you would like for me to do, because I don't know if I'm gonna do a video of reading all of the thriller nominations for this year, or reading the top 10 horror or thriller nominations this year. I mean, I might still do it, but I'm not totally sure. But what I was thinking I might do instead is do a video trying a chapter of all the ones that I haven't read for a video in December instead. So I don't know, let me know what you think on that. Let me know what you think of the Goodreads Choice Awards as a whole. How are you feeling about it? Do you like some of the nominations? What would you be voting for, and what do you feel got left out of the nominations that you would have liked to see nominated in these categories? And yeah, thank you so much for watching as always, and I will see you very soon with another video. Bye.